Russia gets strategic footholds in gold-backed trade. North Korea gets real-world testing grounds and influence in the global south. And for Burkina Faso, for once, it gets solid backing without moral lectures or backroom demands. This is what true mutual interest looks like, and it's catching on. Mali and Niger, also members of the Alliance of Sahel States AES, are taking notes. In Mali, Russian special forces are integrating into national security. North Korean-style surveillance tools are popping up in rural command centers. Even Nigeria is exploring barter-based weapons deals, cutting Western banks out entirely. These aren't isolated moves. They're coordinated. AES is no longer just a regional security pact. It's becoming a launchpad for a new political identity in Africa. And others are watching. Chad, Guinea, Sudan. Countries in transition, uncertain about the West, are now asking, what if we don't need ECOWAS? What if we don't need the IMF? What if we can protect ourselves together? That's the real threat to the West, not the coups, irrelevance. Because if this model spreads, if more African nations start building internal stability with Eastern partners instead of Western ones, the whole game changes. No more proxy control, no more aid with fine print, no more regime change diplomacy dressed up as democracy support. Instead, a continent long divided by colonial borders is beginning to unite around a new mindset, one that values sovereignty, solidarity, and survival without foreign control. But this isn't just about Africa. From Latin America to Southeast Asia, countries are watching. Iran, Venezuela, parts of Southeast Asia. And what they're seeing isn't chaos, they're seeing a blueprint. A world that no longer runs on Washington's timeline. A world where Western approval isn't the ticket to survival. What Traore and his allies are building is more than an alliance. It's a new language of power, one that doesn't ask for a seat at the old table, but builds its own. And here's the part the West still doesn't get. Those 700 North Korean commandos, they're not just boots on the ground. They're a signal that the monopoly is over, a signal that a new global order is rising not from Wall Street or Geneva, but from the Sahel. Forged in resistance, built in silence, now moving with purpose. Burkina Faso isn't a case study anymore. It's the prototype. So what's next? Will Traore stay the course, or will global pressure force him to bend? Will this new alliance hold or break under the weight of Western retaliation? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Think the West will strike back out of fear or jealousy? And if you want to stay ahead of what's coming, hit that subscribe button, smash the bell, and join the conversation. Thanks for watching. This story's just getting started. Burkina Faso's troops are sharper, better trained, and increasingly battle-ready. The Russian presence is transforming how the country responds to threats and raising serious questions about what comes next. Because this isn't just about one president trying to survive. It's about power, influence, and the new global chessboard playing out in Africa. And in Burkina Faso, the next move could change everything. For decades, Burkina Faso leaned on the West, especially France, for military aid, training, and diplomatic support. That relationship defined the country's place in the global order. But now, that era might be over. President Ibrahim Traoré is betting on a new power, Russia. By turning to Moscow, he's not just shifting alliances, he's making a statement, one that says, we're done playing by the old rules. This isn't just about defending his presidency. It's about survival, control, and rewriting Burkina Faso's role on the world stage. But whether this new alliance will steady the country or drag it deeper into chaos is the million-dollar question. Let's rewind for a second. For years, Burkina Faso was locked into France's orbit. French troops ran counter-terror operations across the Sahel, coordinating with local forces to push back against extremist threats. On paper, it looked like a partnership, but behind the scenes, trust was crumbling. Traoré's government and many of his citizens began to see France not as a savior, but as a stumbling block. The help came with conditions. The promises felt hollow. And as frustration spread across the continent, Burkina Faso joined a rising chorus of African nations tired of Western interference. When France pulled its forces from Mali, the signal was clear. Western commitment was fading. Burkina Faso didn't just drift away from France, it turned sharply east and Russia stepped right in. Unlike Western powers, Russia didn't show up with lectures or political strings attached. Their offer was simple: we'll help, no questions asked. For a president under siege from insurgents, from internal rivals, from growing unrest, that was an offer too good to ignore. But let's not get it twisted. Russia's move isn't just about keeping Traore alive. It's about long-term influence. The Sahel isn't just a war zone. It's a strategic gold mine, militarily, economically, and politically. And by moving into Burkina Faso, Russia is making one thing crystal clear: we're not just visiting, we're staying. With French troops packing up and Western interests cooling off, Russia is filling the void. They're not just sending troops, they're bringing weapons, special forces, military trainers. And they're doing it across Africa, not just in Burkina Faso. Traore's deal with Moscow? It's about more than security, it's about sovereignty. He's betting that by partnering with Russia, he can beat back the insurgency, stabilize the country, and break free from what many in West Africa see as a lingering colonial grip. But make no mistake, this is a high-stakes gamble. Burkina Faso is still on edge. Armed groups continue to strike. Political enemies haven't gone quiet. The streets are tense, and the pressure's mounting. Russian forces might protect Traore for now, but can they fix the deeper cracks in the country? That's still up in the air. And here's a bigger question. Does Russia actually care about Traore's long-term future? Or is this just another pawn in their global power play? Stick around, because this story is far from over. Burkina Faso's turn toward Russia isn't just about staying alive. It's about sending a message. At first glance, it might look like a desperate pivot, a leader scrambling in a crisis. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find something much more powerful taking shape. This is about pushing back against decades of Western dominance, against the legacy of colonization, against a system where African countries are told what to do, how to do it, and who to rely on. Since Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power in 2022, Burkina Faso has been rocked by political chaos, coups, insurgent attacks, assassination plots. Through it all, many in the country have come to believe one thing: that the West, especially France, hasn't helped. If anything, it's made things worse. Once seen as a partner, France is now viewed by many Burkinabés as a power with its own agenda, one that talks about security but leaves instability in its wake. Take Operation Barkhane, the big French counter-terror mission. It was supposed to bring peace. Instead, insurgent violence spread. Confidence collapsed, and frustration turned to fury. Now Traoré is flipping the script. By aligning with Russia, he's not just shifting the balance of power in Burkina Faso, he's challenging the old order in West Africa. It's not just strategy, it's symbolism. It's about reclaiming control and asking, who really calls the shots here? We'll be tracking how this story unfolds and what it means for Africa, global power, and the fight for sovereignty. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if you want more deep dives into Black history, African politics, and the rising New World Order. This isn't just history in the making, it's power, in motion. To many in Burkina Faso, French troops didn't bring peace. They brought resentment, and that's where Russia steps in, and suddenly it all starts to make sense. Unlike the West, Russia's not showing up with lectures about democracy or strings attached to its aid packages. It's offering exactly what President Ibrahim Traoré needs right now: muscle, backup, and no political catch. In a world where Western promises have come up empty time and again, Russia's no-questions-asked approach feels like a relief, especially for leaders trying to carve their own path without being told what it should look like. For Traoré and others across the region, this isn't just about picking a new ally. It's about freedom. Freedom from foreign interference. Freedom from systems that were never theirs to begin with. Freedom from colonial powers still pulling the strings only now in a suit and tie, not a soldier's uniform. Russia gets it, and it's making its move. With the West pulling back and public trust in former allies at an all-time low, Moscow is stepping in with weapons, training, and one very clear message: we'll work on your terms. For Burkina Faso, this isn't just a shift in strategy, it's a stand. And maybe, just maybe, it's the first page of a new story. But here's the big question we all need to ask. Is Russia a true partner or just the next power lining up to play puppet master? Stick around because we're digging into that next. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insight into Black history, African power politics, and the forces shaping the continent's future. Let's get real for a minute. At the core of Burkina Faso's pivot toward Russia is one simple truth. They share the same opponent, the West. For decades, Western powers have claimed they were in Africa to support democracy, protect human rights, and bring stability. But to many African leaders, that's just PR. Behind the nice words, they see the same old playbook: control, exploitation, and political manipulation. It's colonialism with a facelift, and people are tired of it. Now enter Russia. Instead of moralizing, Russia positions itself as the anti-West, a counterbalance to the influence African countries have been under for far too long. No finger-wagging, no lectures, just partnership, respect, and military support. Sure, that may sound better on paper, but for leaders like Traore, it's not just about optics, it's about independence. By working with Moscow, he's not just trying to fight insurgents. He's sending a message that Burkina Faso is done being bossed around by its former colonizers. This isn't just about guns and security. This is political. It's symbolic. It's Burkina Faso standing up and saying, "We'll decide our future, not Paris, not Washington." And the stakes go even deeper. Burkina Faso isn't just a struggling nation. It's a resource-rich country sitting on gold and other valuable minerals. For years, much of that wealth has flowed outward, enriching foreign companies and leaving local communities behind. Now, with Russia stepping into the picture, there's a real chance, at least in theory, that the country could turn those resources into real leverage, real power, and real development. Of course, Russia sees opportunity too. Africa offers more than just partnerships. It offers influence, access to strategic resources, and a chance to outmaneuver the West on the global stage. So yes, Russia's playing its own game, but this time Africa might be playing too. The next move? Still uncertain, but one thing's for sure, Burkina Faso isn't waiting for permission anymore. So it shouldn't come as a shock that Russia is moving in with troops, training, and investments. But this isn't just about backing a friendly leader. It's about planting roots for the long haul and shaping the future of Africa. And there's something deeper at play here, something emotional. This shift isn't just about strategy or survival, it's about finally shaking off the ghosts of colonialism. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union often supported post-colonial nations fighting Western control. Fast forward to today, and Russia's trying to reclaim that image, positioning itself as the ally that gets it. That legacy still resonates. To many African leaders, Russia feels like the first global power that doesn't come in acting like a parent. There's no preaching, no political strings, just help when and where it's needed. But let's be real, this is also about cold, hard survival. Burkina Faso is in deep crisis. Insurgents are launching brutal attacks on villages. They're destabilizing entire regions and putting massive pressure on the central government. And the West, it's backing off. France and other traditional allies have scaled down their presence. The promised support hasn't arrived, and President Ibrahim Traoré doesn't have the luxury of waiting. That's where Russia steps in. No red tape, no lectures, just boots on the ground and weapons at the ready. To Traoré, this isn't about choosing sides in some ideological game. It's about holding his country together before it falls apart completely. And right now, Russia's the only major power offering real backup, no questions asked. So here's the big question. Is this Burkina Faso's turning point? A bold new path towards sovereignty and stability? Or just a different version of the same old foreign entanglements, dressed up in new colors? Because make no mistake, something major is happening in West Africa. As France and other Western nations pull back from the Sahel, driven out by a wave of public anger and anti-colonial backlash, Russia is sliding in to take their place. And leading that shift? Burkina Faso. This isn't just local politics, it's a ripple that could become a wave. Other African countries are watching closely, and many are now rethinking their old alliances. They're eyeing Russia and even China as possible alternatives. Partners who won't try to reshape their politics in exchange for support. The balance of power is tilting, slowly but steadily. We might be witnessing the start of a new geopolitical chapter in Africa, one where Western powers don't automatically get the final say. But before we zoom out, let's zoom back in right into the heart of the storm. Burkina Faso. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, a young, defiant leader who took power in 2022, is still holding on after multiple coup attempts. With Russian special forces now protecting him, he's weathered some major blows. But he's far from safe. His government is facing intense pressure. Armed insurgents spreading fear and violence. Political divisions threatening to fracture the state, and international eyes watching his every move. Even with Russian backup, Traoré is racing against time. He has to prove he can not only survive, but stabilize a country on the edge. One of the biggest threats? A relentless wave of insurgent attacks across the Sahel. These isn't random ambushes. This is a coordinated campaign of chaos, targeting bases, government officials, and civilians. Over 1 million people have been displaced. Entire communities are being wiped out. That's why Russian commandos are here. Not for show, not for PR. They're here to protect Traoré personally, to guard key government sites, and to push back hard against insurgents threatening to tear the country apart. It's a high-stakes move, but for Traoré, it's the only card left to play. So now we're left with a question that cuts to the core. Can he pull it off? Can he turn this Russia-backed gamble into lasting peace and power? Or is this just a temporary shield in a much longer, messier fight? Stick with us as we dive deeper into this fast-changing story. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more on Black history, African power politics, and the global forces reshaping the continent. Because here's the truth. Russian boots might be guarding Traoré today, but that alone won't fix Burkina Faso. What's happening here runs much deeper than just convoy protection or keeping the palace safe. This is a battle for the soul of a nation. The real fight in Burkina Faso isn't just on the battlefield, it's deeper, in the roots of the chaos. Poverty, crumbling infrastructure, scarce jobs, and a government struggling to reach the people in the worst-hit areas. Until those core problems get fixed, the insurgencies won't stop. No amount of foreign firepower can change that. But that's only part of the story. Traoré is also fighting a political war, one just as dangerous. Since stepping into power, he's faced pushback from all sides. Power players in the political elite, rival military factions, and civil society groups that aren't convinced he's the leader they can trust. Add a struggling economy into the mix, and you've got a powder keg. Prices are soaring, basic services are breaking down, and everyday life is getting tougher for the people caught in the middle. Sure, Traoré has earned the loyalty of some, especially those fed up with the West's empty promises and France's shadow, but winning over an entire nation? That's a whole other challenge. And then there are the ghosts of Burkina Faso's past. This is a country where military coups aren't rare, they're almost expected. That history of instability still looms large over Traoré's government. Deep divisions run through the armed forces, and loyalty to the president is anything but guaranteed. The failed coup attempt? It wasn't a one-off mistake. It was a warning. Cracks are still there in Traoré's foundation. Even with elite guards and foreign advisors watching his back, keeping the military united and loyal is one of the toughest battles he faces. Because a divided army is a ticking time bomb. Then there's the economy, a slow-moving crisis with the power to bring everything crashing down. Despite rich natural resources like gold, most people are feeling the squeeze harder than ever. Inflation is rising, trade is stalling, and insecurity is spreading. If the government can't get a handle on the economy soon, public anger could explode, and no amount of foreign support will stop it. So here's the million-dollar question. Can Traoré do more than just survive? Can he actually lead Burkina Faso through this storm? Or is he just buying time, delaying the inevitable? What happens next won't just shape one presidency, it could change the future of the entire Sahel region. Burkina Faso's economy is stuck in a chokehold, and violence is tightening the grip. Years of unrest have crippled key industries like agriculture and mining, halting growth and pushing everyday people deeper into hardship. One of the country's biggest hopes, gold, could be a game changer. But right now, that gold is wrapped in controversy. Corruption, shady deals, and mismanagement have turned what should be a lifeline into a political minefield. That gold isn't just valuable, it's vulnerable. And Traore knows it. If he wants to pull the country forward, his government needs to tap into those resources the right way, fueling real, lasting development instead of letting profits slip into the hands of foreign companies or corrupt elites. Enter Russia. Russia's expanding role in Burkina Faso could open new doors, especially in mining and infrastructure. They're clear about one thing: African resources matter. That interest could mean serious investment. But here's the catch. Traore has to walk a tightrope. How do you welcome Russian support without handing over the keys to your country's wealth? Burkina Faso has been down this road before. Foreign involvement in its riches too often means exploitation, not empowerment. Traore can't afford to let history repeat itself, not when so much is on the line. And then there's the global spotlight. Traore's pivot toward Moscow might be buying him military backup and some breathing room at home, but it's also raising eyebrows worldwide. Western powers, especially France, aren't exactly thrilled to see Russia planting deeper roots in the Sahel. The stakes? Higher than ever. Critics are already sounding the alarm, saying Burkina Faso might just be swapping one form of foreign control for another. While Traore works to rebuild his country and tighten his hold on power, he's stepping into a much bigger game, a global chess match where every move is under a microscope. So here's the real question. Can Traore turn Burkina Faso's gold into a ticket to true independence and prosperity? Or is he setting the stage for a whole new kind of foreign entanglement? As Western countries start pulling back from Africa and powers like China and Russia ramp up their influence, Burkina Faso's bold decision to turn away from France could come with a heavy price. This shift might give Traore some short-term leverage, but it risks leaving the country isolated on the global stage, and that's a gamble Burkina Faso can't afford, especially since it still relies on international aid just to keep its economy afloat. Right now, Traore is walking a tightrope. He needs to deepen his ties with Russia without burning every bridge to the west. It's a tricky balancing act, especially as tensions rise and foreign powers pick sides. But here's the flip side. This moment also holds real opportunity. If Traore wants to change the game, he's going to have to lead a serious transformation, one that actually delivers for the everyday people of Burkina Faso. That means investing in roads, schools, clean water, and maybe most importantly, creating jobs. It also means tackling the corruption and human rights issues that have held the country back for so long. If Traore truly wants to secure Burkina Faso's independence, not just from France, but from any foreign influence, he's got to prove he's serious about reform. That's the only way to build a future where Burkina Faso can stand tall on its own, while still working with global partners on its own terms. But here's the big question. Can Traore actually pull this off? Will his bold moves save Burkina Faso, or just put a bigger target on his back? Is this the start of a new chapter, or just another twist in a long, messy story? We want to hear what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Is Traore making the right call, or is he in way over his head? And if you're into real talk about African history, Black culture, and the stories most people don't hear, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We've got more videos coming your way, telling the truth about Black heritage, power, and the forces shaping the future. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.